There's a tree capable of growing 15 feet in a single year, and honestly, very few gardeners ever hear about it unless they, stumble into forestry research papers or maybe Asian agricultural history. Most people spend decades just waiting for hardwood trees to mature. Oaks, maples, walnuts, these are the species people traditionally plant for timber or fuel, and they often take 30 to 50 years before they become harvestable. Entire careers can pass before the first usable logs even appear. But this particular tree reaches harvestable size in about 5 years, and under the right conditions it grows faster than nearly any other hardwood species on Earth. That alone would make it remarkable. But, the story gets even stranger when you look at what the wood actually does. Pound for pound, this wood can produce more heat energy than coal, generating roughly 9,500 BTUs per pound, compared to coal's 8,000 to 9,000 BTUs. In practical terms, a small plantation of these trees can actually supply enough firewood to heat a home for years. And, unlike fossil fuels, once the tree is harvested, it doesn't die permanently. It regrows directly from the stump, producing new shoots that can be harvested again in just a few seasons. Before we go deeper into this, if you enjoy learning practical systems like this, trees, soil building methods, and old agricultural knowledge that most people never hear about, subscribe to my email list where I share longer guides and deeper breakdowns. You'll also find links there to tools that help speed up composting and soil building, like the EPICA Countertop Compost bin, which is excellent for fermenting kitchen scraps without odor, and the VEVOR Compost bin, a larger system that accelerates decomposition and helps produce rich compost faster. If you decide to order through those links, it also supports the channel and, keeps these guides coming. The tree in question is Paulownia, often called the Empress Tree, Princess Tree, or Royal Paulownia. In botanical terms, the most commonly discussed species is Paulownia tomentosa, though several related species share the same dramatic characteristics. The tree is native to China and has been cultivated there for more than 3,000 years. Long before modern forestry science existed, farmers in East Asia had already recognized something unusual about it. No other hardwood grows this fast while producing such valuable wood. A traditional Chinese culture developed a remarkable custom around the tree. When a daughter was born, families planted a Paulownia sapling. The tree grew alongside the child, reaching a large size by the time she reached adulthood. When she married, the tree was harvested and turned into furniture, chests, wardrobes, or dressers, forming part of her dowry. That furniture often lasted centuries because Paulownia wood has an unusual combination of traits that almost no other timber species possesses. One of the first things people notice is how lightweight the wood is. A cubic foot of Paulownia weighs around 18 pounds, far lighter than oak, which weighs roughly 45 pounds per cubic foot. Despite that low weight, the wood is surprisingly strong. Engineers sometimes describe the strength-to-weight ratio as comparable to aluminum. During the Second World War, Japanese engineers even used Paulownia wood in aircraft components where strength and low weight were critical. The wood also has a very low natural moisture content compared to most freshly cut trees. That means when it's burned as fuel, less energy is wasted evaporating water. More of the energy goes directly into heat. Combined with the natural oils and resins in the wood, this is what produces that extremely high BTU output. Growth speed is where Paulownia truly breaks the rules of forestry. Under good conditions of fertile soil, plenty of sunlight and adequate water, seedlings can grow 10 to 15 feet in their first year. The second year often adds another 10 feet or more. By year 5, the tree can reach around 50 feet tall, with a trunk large enough for saw logs. The reason lies in the leaves. Paulownia produces enormous leaves, sometimes reaching as much as 2 feet across. These act like giant solar panels, capturing far more sunlight than the smaller leaves of most hardwood trees. More sunlight means more photosynthesis, which, leads to more sugar production inside the tree. That sugar fuels rapid growth. Because the tree grows so quickly, it also absorbs carbon dioxide at extraordinary rates. Studies on Paulownia plantations have measured carbon capture levels many times higher than typical forests, simply because rapid growth means more biomass being produced each year. But here is where the story becomes complicated. In many parts of the United States, Paulownia is classified as an invasive species. In several states, it is restricted or even illegal to plant. The reasoning from regulators is that the tree spreads easily and can outcompete native species in disturbed environments. Paulownia produces millions of tiny wind-borne seeds each year, allowing it to colonize open ground quickly. However, ecologists also point out something important. The tree typically thrives in disturbed soils and open sunlight, such as abandoned fields, roadside cuts, or burned land. In mature forests with dense shade, Paulownia seedlings rarely survive. In ecological terms, it behaves like a pioneer species, one that colonizes damaged landscapes and prepares them for other trees that follow later. That means its ecological impact is often more complex than the simple invasive equals destructive narrative. In fact, in some restoration projects, the tree has been used to stabilize soil and help recover degraded land. Another remarkable property of Paulownia is its ability to regrow after harvest, a practice known as coppicing. When the tree is cut near the base, the root system remains alive underground and sends up new shoots. Those shoots grow extremely fast, allowing the same stump to produce harvestable poles again within just a few years. This makes the tree particularly attractive for renewable fuel production. Instead of mining coal or cutting slow-growing forests, a coppiced plantation can produce a continuous supply of biomass from the same root system for decades. Paulownia also shows promise in environmental cleanup. The species is known to absorb heavy metals, such as lead and cadmium, from contaminated soil. This process, called phytoremediation, allows polluted land to gradually recover while producing usable biomass. Despite all these benefits, regulations around the tree vary widely from region to region. Some states allow it freely, others require permits, and some ban it outright due to invasive species concerns. Anyone interested in planting Paulownia should always research local regulations first before attempting to grow it. Where cultivation is permitted, growing the tree is surprisingly simple. Seeds germinate easily in warm soil, and cuttings from roots or stems can produce new trees quickly. Farmers often plant them about 10 to 15 feet apart for timber production. After harvest, the coppicing process begins, allowing repeated cycles of growth and harvest from the same root system. The result is a tree that can provide timber, fuel, soil restoration, and carbon capture all at once, while growing at speeds that traditional forestry rarely achieves. For gardeners, homesteaders, and landowners interested in sustainable systems, understanding trees like this opens the door to entirely different ways of thinking about land use. Instead of waiting half a century for slow forests to mature, fast-growing species can produce usable materials within a few years. If you enjoy learning about unusual plants, forgotten agricultural methods, and practical soil-building strategies like this, subscribe to In the Beginning and share the video with someone who cares about growing better food and building healthier land. Practical knowledge spreads the same way good soil does, one layer at a time, until the entire system becomes stronger.